Love makes you blind, but betrayal gives you 20/20 vision. I spent 3 years hiding my scent, my identity, and my entire existence for the alpha I loved. Then I turned on the evening news and watched him kiss another Omega, claiming the universe made them for each other. 3 years. That was exactly how long I existed as a ghost in my own life. My name is Finn Hayes, and until a freezing Tuesday night in November, I believed I was the luckiest Omega in Boston. I was deeply, irrevocably in love with Arthur Gallagher. Arthur wasn't just any alpha. He was the charismatic, fiercely intelligent deputy district attorney with his eyes dead set on the mayor's office. He was a force of nature, tall, commanding, with a scent of bergamot and dark roast coffee that could short-circuit my nervous system the second he walked through the door. But loving Arthur came with conditions, strict, suffocating conditions. It's just until the campaign is over. Finn, he used to tell me, his large hands cupping my face, his thumbs gently stroking the sensitive skin over my scent glands. The media in this city is vicious. They'll dig into your past. They'll hound your family. They'll twist our dynamic to make me look weak or distracted. I need to protect you. I need you safe. I was young, naive, and hopelessly thoroughly imprinted on him. So I agreed. I agreed to move out of my cozy, vibrant apartment and into his sterile, ultra-modern penthouse overlooking the harbor. I agreed to quit my job at the design firm to work strictly freelance from home, ensuring no paparazzi could catch me leaving his building. Most painfully, I agreed to wear industrial-grade scent blockers every single day. For an Omega, suppressing your natural scent, sweet fig and honey in my case, isn't just uncomfortable, it's physically taxing. It dulls your senses, gives you chronic migraines, and makes you feel profoundly disconnected from your own body. But I did it. I slapped those thick medical patches on my neck every morning, masking the fact that I belonged to an alpha. I played the role of the invisible roommate, the secret lover who kept the bed warm and the house quiet. My best friend Caleb was the only one who knew the truth, and he despised it. Alphas don't hide their mates, Finn. Caleb warned me over a hushed phone call just a week before everything shattered. I was standing in Arthur's massive kitchen, chopping vegetables for a dinner I wasn't even sure Arthur would be home to eat. It goes against their biology. When an alpha finds their Omega, they want to scent them. They want to mark them. They want the whole damn world to know. If he's keeping you in a box, it's not to protect you. It's to protect his options. You don't understand him, Caleb. I had argued, feeling that familiar defensive flare in my chest. Politics is different. It's a blood sport. Arthur just wants to secure the election. Once he's mayor, he promised we'd have a public mating ceremony. He already bought the rings. Has he shown them to you? Caleb challenged. I fell silent. No, he hadn't. Fast forward to election week. The tension in the penthouse was thick enough to cut with a knife. Arthur was rarely home running on adrenaline caffeine and campaign trail adrenaline. On the rare nights he did crawl into bed, he was distant, his scent spiked with the sharp, sour tang of stress. I did my best to soothe him, offering him my neck, letting my natural pheromones wash over him to calm his frayed nerves. He would bury his face in my collarbone, breathe me in and fall asleep. But he never bit down. 3 years and my mating gland remained untouched, a blank canvas waiting for a brushstroke that was constantly delayed. Then came the night of the final campaign rally. It was meant to be his biggest televised event, the final push before the polls opened. Arthur had rushed home to change suits, his eyes bright with a manic kind of excitement. "Watch Channel 8 tonight, Finn," he had said, straightening his tie in the mirror While I handed him his briefcase, he turned, pulling me into a swift, bruising kiss. "I have a major announcement. It's going to change everything. Just trust me, okay? No matter what happens, know that I love you. We're at the finish line." My heart soared. This is it, I thought. He's going to announce he's stepping back from the bachelor image. He's going to lay the groundwork for us. I spent the next 2 hours preparing a celebratory dinner. I took off my scent blockers, letting the apartment fill with the warm, inviting aroma of fig and honey. I dressed in the soft cashmere sweater Arthur loved, poured a glass of wine, and sat down in front of the massive, flat-screen TV in the living room. When Arthur took the podium, the crowd went wild. He looked magnificent. He spoke with passion, charisma, and a commanding alpha presence that practically bled through the screen. He talked about the future of Boston, about community, about traditional family values. And then the world stopped spinning. Building a future for this city isn't a task I can undertake alone. Arthur's voice boomed through the television speakers. The crowd hushed, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Arthur smiled, a practiced, devastatingly handsome smile. A strong city requires strong foundations, and a strong leader requires a partner who understands the weight of duty, heritage, and destiny. I leaned forward on the couch, my pulse fluttering in my throat. My hands gripped the stem of my wine glass so tightly my knuckles turned white. For months, the media has speculated about my private life. Arthur continued, his eyes scanning the sea of reporters. Today I am proud to finally share my heart with the city of Boston. Some bonds are forged by time, but others are written in the stars. When I met this remarkable Omega, the universe made its choice instantly. Please welcome my fated mate and my future husband, Leo Montgomery. The wine glass slipped from my fingers. It shattered against the hardwood floor, dark red liquid pooling like blood over the expensive rug. From the side of the stage, a young man walked out. He was breathtaking. Leo Montgomery, heir to the Montgomery real estate empire, a family whose wealth and influence practically owned the eastern seaboard. Leo was radiant with spun gold hair and a delicate, flawless posture. But it wasn't his beauty that knocked the breath out of my lungs. It was the way Arthur looked at him. Arthur pulled Leo into his side, his alpha aura visibly shifting to envelop the smaller man in a protective, possessive embrace. The cameras flashed blindingly, and as Leo turned his head to smile at the crowd, the camera zoomed in. There, resting vividly on Leo's pale neck, was a dark, bruised, perfectly formed bite mark. A mating mark, Arthur's mark, a physical, agonizing jolt ripped through my chest, as an Omega bonded to an Alpha in every way. But blood seeing your Alpha claim another is a biological trauma. My knees gave out. I collapsed onto the floor amidst the shattered glass, gasping for air as my body betrayed me. A violent wave of nausea rolled over me, followed by a sharp, burning pain in my own unmarked scent glands. My inner Omega screamed a visceral, animalistic wail of rejection and grief. Fated mate. The words echoed in my head, mocking me. Arthur hadn't just cheated. He had claimed someone else. He had done the one thing he swore he was saving for me. I don't know how long I lay there on the floor, shivering, weeping until my throat bled. Time lost its meaning, but eventually the sorrow began to curdle. It thickened, darkening into something cold and sharp. Anger. I dragged myself up. The apartment, once my sanctuary, suddenly looked like exactly what it was, a high-priced storage unit for Arthur's dirty little secret. I walked into the bedroom and pulled my oldest duffel bag from the back of the closet. I didn't pack the designer clothes Arthur bought me. I didn't pack the expensive jewelry or the latest tech gadgets. I packed my old jeans, my sketchbooks, my laptop, and my dignity. It was nearly 1 a.m. when the front door clicked open. "Finn!" Arthur's voice called out, laced with a false, heavy exhaustion. "Finn, I know you're awake. The lights are on." He walked into the bedroom, loosening his tie, smelling of champagne, thousands of strangers, and underneath it all, the sickeningly sweet scent of peaches and cream. Leo's scent. It clung to Arthur's clothes, woven into his very skin. Arthur froze when he saw me standing by the bed, the duffel bag slung over my shoulder. "What are you doing?" he asked, his brow furrowing. He tried to inject his voice with a soothing alpha timbre, a tone meant to force an omega into a state of calm submission. "Put the bag down, Finn. Let's talk about this." "Talk about it." My voice was hoarse, raspy from crying but steady. "Talk about your fated mate, Arthur. Or talk about the wedding you're planning with the Montgomery fortune." Arthur sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose as if I was the one being unreasonable. "I told you to trust me. I told you everything changes tonight. This is politics, Finn. It's PR. The Montgomerys are backing my campaign to the tune of $5 million, but their conservative donor base needed me to be a settled traditional family man. Leo needed out from under his strict father's thumb. It's an arrangement." I stared at him, genuinely horrified by the casual, sociopathic ease with which he lied. "An arrangement, Arthur. I saw his neck. You bit him." For a fraction of a second, the polished politician cracked. A flicker of genuine panic crossed Arthur's eyes. That was part of the deal. It's clinical. It means nothing. He's just for the cameras, Finn. You are the one I come home to. You are the one I actually love. Nothing between us has to change. You'll stay here. We'll still be together. You want me to be your mistress?" I breathed out, the absolute audacity of his plan finally clicking into place. "You want to marry Leo, live in the spotlight as the perfect alpha, and keep me locked in this tower as your dirty little secret." "Don't use that word." Arthur snapped, his alpha presence flaring, heavy and oppressive, making the air in the room thick. "I provide for you. I keep you safe. Do you have any idea what it takes to build a legacy in this city? I made a sacrifice for us. You sacrificed me." I screamed, the sound tearing from my throat. 3 years I erased myself for you. I wore patches that made me sick. I hid from my own family. And you gave the bite you promised me to a billionaire's son for a campaign donation. Arthur took a step forward, his eyes darkening, his voice dropping into that terrifying, rumbling alpha command. "Finian, put the bag down. You are not leaving. Under normal circumstances, an Omega's knees would buckle under a direct command from their alpha. Biology dictates surrender. But Arthur wasn't my alpha anymore. He had severed our bond the moment his teeth sank into Leo Montgomery's neck. Instead of submission, a surge of pure, unadulterated defiance flooded my veins. "Watch me!" I spat. I pushed past him. Arthur reached out, grabbing my wrist with a bruising grip, but I twisted sharply, raking my nails across the back of his hand. He hissed, recoiling in shock. I had never raised a hand to him before. Without looking back, I marched down the hallway through the massive oak front doors and out into the biting November air. The cold hit my tear-stained face like a physical blow, but for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't wearing a scent blocker. The chilly wind carried my scent pure sharp and laced with distress out into the world. I was free, but I had nowhere to go, no job and $20 in my pocket. I walked 3 blocks before I found a bus stop, shivering under the flickering yellow streetlight. I pulled out my phone to call Caleb, praying he was awake. Before I could dial his number, the screen lit up. It was an unknown number. I almost ignored it, assuming it was Arthur calling from a burner or his campaign manager trying to do damage control. But something made me swipe right. "Hello," I whispered, my teeth chattering. The voice on the other end was soft, melodic, and completely unexpected. "Finn Hayes?" the voice asked. "Yes." "Who is this?" A shaky breath echoed through the receiver. "My name is Leo Montgomery. We need to talk. Because the man I just agreed to marry is a monster, and you're the only one who can help me destroy him." Rain battered the roof of Caleb's rusty sedan as we parked in a desolate, forgotten alleyway behind the city's industrial district. I sat in the passenger seat, my entire body trembling from the adrenaline and the lingering ghost pain in my unbitten scent glands. Caleb gripped the steering wheel, his eyes darting nervously toward the rearview mirror. We were waiting for a ghost. We were waiting for the boy who had just been presented to millions of people as Arthur Gallagher's destiny. Headlights cut through the torrential downpour. A sleek black town car rolled to a silent stop beside us. The back door opened, and a figure huddled under a massive umbrella slipped out, darting into the back seat of Caleb's car. Leo Montgomery was soaked, shivering, and stripped of the radiant golden aura he had projected on television just 3 hours prior. Up close, without the studio lighting and the heavy layers of professional makeup, the truth of his situation was agonizingly obvious. The sweet peach and cream scent that had clung to Arthur was completely overpowered by the sour, sharp stench of sheer terror. "Drive," Leo choked out, his voice cracking. "Please just drive anywhere." Caleb slammed his foot on the gas, peeling out into the rainy night. I turned around to look at the billionaire heir. Leo was clutching his coat tightly around his neck. "He didn't bite you," I said, quietly, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. Leo squeezed his eyes shut, tears spilling over his pale cheeks. He slowly lowered the collar of his coat, peeling back a skin-toned medical patch. The flesh underneath was bruised, swollen, and painted with artificial surgically precise puncture wounds. It was a cosmetic modification. A fake claim. "My father is a monster, but Arthur is the devil," Leo whispered, wrapping his arms around his slender frame. "Arthur doesn't believe in fated mates. He believes in leverage. He needed the Montgomery wealth and our conservative voting base to secure the mayoral race. But my father would never hand over the family endorsement to a bachelor. So Arthur found something catastrophic to force my father's hand, and my hand in return. What could Arthur possibly have over a billionaire real estate tycoon?" Caleb asked, navigating the dark, rain-slicked streets. Leo looked at me, his eyes wide and haunted. "An inheritance. 3 months ago, my estranged grandfather passed away. He left me something my father had spent 30 years trying to erase from the public record. A deed to the Beaumont. Have you heard of it?" I frowned, racking my brain. The abandoned luxury hotel on the edge of the harbor. The one that was shut down in the 80s due to structural damage. It wasn't shut down because of structural damage. Leo corrected his voice, dropping to a harsh whisper. It was shut down because beneath the basement levels, my grandfather built a massive, fortified bunker, a subterranean vault. During the Cold War, he used it as a paranoid fallout shelter, but later, my father used it to hide the physical ledgers of every illegal payoff, every bribe, and every dirty real estate deal the Montgomery family ever made to build their empire. The bunker was forgotten, buried, until the deed transferred to me. My blood ran cold, and Arthur found out about the inheritance. Arthur oversees the property tax division. Leo said, letting out a hollow, broken laugh. He intercepted the transfer. He broke into the Beaumont, bypassed the rusted security gates, and found the bunker. He holds the ledgers now. He told my father that if I didn't play the role of his devoted, fated Omega on live television, he would hand the ledgers over to the FBI. He forced me to get this surgical mark. He forced me to smile while he ruined your life, Finn. I knew about you. I saw your things in the penthouse. I felt your scent faded into his pillows. A heavy silence filled the car. For 3 years I believed Arthur was protecting me from the viciousness of the political world. In reality, he was meticulously building an empire of blackmail, and I was nothing but his blind, convenient comfort blanket. I had sacrificed my identity for a man who viewed people entirely as currency. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice hardening. The sorrow I had felt hours ago was completely incinerated by a burning, furious desire for vengeance. "Because Arthur's only weakness is his arrogance," Leo said, leaning forward. "He moved his own illegal campaign contributions into the Beaumont bunker. He thinks it's the perfect, untraceable vault. He keeps the electronic master key on a physical flash drive attached to his watch chain. But I know for a fact he has a backup drive hidden somewhere in his penthouse office. I can't get past his security systems. But you, Finn, you lived there for 3 years. You know his codes. You know his blind spots. If we get that backup drive, we can get into the bunker. We can destroy my family's blackmail material, and we can take Arthur's ledgers to the press." I looked at Caleb. My best friend gave me a slow, resolute nod. "He kept me hidden," I said, a dangerous calm washing over me. "He thought I was weak because I am an Omega who submitted to him. He is going to learn exactly how dangerous an invisible person can be." Dust motes danced in the pale beams of our flashlights as Leo and I stepped into the cavernous, rotting lobby of the Beaumont Hotel. It was 2 nights later. The air smelled of mildew, decaying velvet, and decades of forgotten history. Shattered crystal chandeliers lay in ruins across the cracked marble floors, and the grand staircase vanished into the oppressive pitch-black shadows above. I clutched the heavy, encrypted flash drive we had successfully stolen from the false bottom of Arthur's humidor just hours prior. Slipping back into the penthouse while Arthur was at a donor dinner had been terrifying, but my hands had never been steadier. "The freight elevator," Leo whispered, pointing toward a rusted iron door hidden behind a collapsed reception desk. "The shaft leads straight down into the bunker." We pried the doors open and descended a rusted, terrifyingly precarious maintenance ladder in absolute silence. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my Omega instincts, usually prone to seeking safety, and an Alpha's protection, were dead quiet. I was operating purely on rage and survival. The bunker entrance was a massive, reinforced steel door straight out of a military compound. I plugged the flash drive into the dusty terminal. A green light flashed, and the heavy pneumatic locks disengaged with a deafening hiss. Inside the bunker was shockingly modern. Racks of servers hummed quietly, powered by a localized generator. In the center of the room sat a massive steel table covered in physical ledgers, blueprints, and files. "There," Leo gasped, running toward a stack of leather-bound books. "The Montgomery files. Oh my God, they're all here." "Grab them," I ordered, moving toward a separate laptop sitting open on the table. "I'm downloading Arthur's campaign ledgers." I plugged my own hard drive into Arthur's laptop, initiating the transfer. The progress bar crawled across the screen. 10%. 20%. Every second felt like an hour. We were so close to destroying the man who had destroyed us. Then, The heavy steel door of the bunker slammed shut with a sickening crash. The heavy, suffocating scent of bergamot and dark roast coffee flooded the underground room. It wasn't the comforting scent I had slept beside for 3 years. It was aggressive, toxic, and dripping with pure alpha malice. Arthur Gallagher stepped out of the shadows, a silenced pistol gripped loosely in his right hand. He was dressed in a pristine tuxedo, looking exactly like the golden boy of Boston politics. His eyes, however, were entirely empty. "I have to admit, Finn," Arthur said, his voice echoing off the concrete walls. "I underestimated you. I thought you would crawl to a motel cry for a week and eventually come begging for my financial support. I didn't expect you to team up with my reluctant fiancé." Leo froze, dropping a ledger. He backed away, trembling violently. "How did you find us?" I asked, forcing myself to stand tall between Arthur and Leo. Arthur chuckled, tapping his temple. "You think I didn't put a GPS tracker in the lining of that ancient duffel bag you packed? You were mine, Finn. Omegas don't just walk away from their alphas without permission. It goes against nature. You are not my alpha." I spat, my voice laced with venom. "You never were. You're a parasite." Arthur's face twisted in rage. The charming facade shattered completely. He raised the gun, pointing it directly at my chest. "Submit, Finian. Get on your knees. Both of you." He pushed his alpha command into the air, heavy and crushing. Leo whimpered, his knees buckling under the sheer biological weight of the command. But I stood my ground. The lack of a mating mark, the very thing I had cried over for years, was now my ultimate shield. His command couldn't break me. "You're pathetic, Arthur," I said, crossing my arms. "You're going to shoot us here, in a bunker tied to the Montgomery estate. Do you think you can cover up 2 murders right before Election Day?" "I can cover up anything," Arthur shouted, his composure snapping. "I own the police commissioner. I own the district judges. I forged a fake medical mating mark on a billionaire's son just to secure a $5 million donation. Do you honestly think I care about the rules I built this city's political landscape from the shadows? I am untouchable. I will bury you both in this forgotten hotel, and tomorrow I will stand at the podium and accept the mayor's office while weeping over the tragic disappearance of my fated mate." He was panting, his chest heaving, as the monstrous reality of his crimes spilled out of his mouth. He smiled a dark, terrifying grin. "Any last words, Finn? Any regrets?" "Just one," I said calmly. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my cell phone. The screen was illuminated, showing an active call interface. Arthur frowned, lowering the gun a fraction of an inch. "What is that? I told you I knew your blind spots, Arthur." I said, a cold smile touching my lips. "You always underestimated technology. You thought this bunker was a dead zone. But your grandfather installed a dedicated fiber optic line down here, Leo. Didn't he?" Leo, still on the floor, looked up and nodded, a vicious gleam returning to his tear-stained eyes. "I'm not recording you, Arthur," I said softly, holding the phone up. "I'm broadcasting you. When I lived in your penthouse, I handled your PR schedule. I have the direct, private emergency numbers for every major news anchor, investigative journalist, and police chief in Boston. I merged them into a single conference call before we walked through that door." Arthur's face drained of all color. The gun trembled in his hand. "They heard everything, Arthur," I whispered, stepping forward. "They heard about the fake mark. They heard about the Montgomery blackmail. They heard you admit to owning the commissioner. They heard you threaten to murder us." From the tiny speaker of my phone, the frantic, overlapping voices of dozens of reporters and police dispatchers suddenly erupted, filling the bunker with the sounds of his absolute destruction. "Trace the location," a voice crackled over the speaker. "Get units to the Beaumont Hotel immediately. The mayoral candidate is armed." Arthur dropped the gun. It clattered uselessly against the concrete floor. He fell to his knees, his hands tearing at his hair, his alpha presence entirely collapsing into dust. He looked small. He looked weak. He looked exactly like the coward he always was. Leo stood up, brushing the dirt off his coat. He walked past Arthur without a single glance, grabbing his family's ledgers. I looked down at the man I had loved for 3 years. I felt absolutely nothing. No pity, no sorrow, just the clean, refreshing breeze of absolute freedom. "Stay hidden, Arthur," I told him, echoing his own toxic words back to him. "It's what's best for you." Leo and I walked out of the bunker, climbing the rusted ladder toward the surface. By the time we reached the rotting lobby of the ghost hotel, the flashing red and blue lights of a dozen police cruisers were already reflecting through the shattered windows, painting the rainy night in the colors of justice. I took a deep breath of the cold, wet air. I didn't smell like bergamot and coffee anymore. I smelled like fig honey and the dawn of a brand new life. Did your jaw drop at that twist? Finn took back his power and absolutely destroyed his toxic alpha in the most satisfying way possible. If you loved this dramatic tale of betrayal, hidden bunkers, and ultimate revenge, hit that like button to support the channel. Don't forget to share this story with your friends who love a good Omegaverse takedown, and subscribe for more intense, daily dramatic stories just like this one. What would you have done in Finn's shoes? Tell me in the comments below.